Hikaru, congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
What a game. I think both Jon Ludwig and I are looking forward to you explaining to us what actually happened. But before we do that, just how does it feel to get that win against Fabi today?
Yeah, I mean it's kind of nice, to beat Fabiano and more beyond just a tournament because frankly we've been the top two American players, and there was a period when he was the player that everyone was talking about after he switched back to the US, and he had some phenomenal results and everything else. So it's kind of nice to have won a few times against him first and foremost. But beyond that, I think Fabiano just kind of got himself into a situation where he thought everything was under control, and then it wasn't under control.
Do you have a particular moment in mind?
Well, I mean, the first thing is in the opening. I mean, the first thing is in the opening that Fabiano decided to go for this bishop d4. And it's funny because like going to this game, I had a feeling Fabiano was going to try to do something unusual, and just because as I said during the many interviews, there were a lot of a lot of people would assume that Nepo is going to win today. Like you have to work under the assumption that Nepo is going to win the game today and move to a +3 score. So if Nepo wins stays on +3, like if you think about it from Fabiano's perspective at +1, I mean he's 1 point down. Let's assume Nepo doesn't lose any more games, and you're in a situation where you feel like you have to start taking chances. And I think Fabiano just assumed this position was fine with the isolated pawn, but at the end of the day, two Bs are two Bs. And it's funny because Fabiano, out of all the top players, this is something I didn't mention before, but Fabiano is one of the players who does not believe in the bishop pair the way that a lot of the other top players do. He won actually a very nice game against me during that magical Sinkfield Cup in 2015, where he had two knights against my two bishops, but the two knights were better than the two bishops. And so Fabiano is one of those players who I think in general he doesn't really. I would say like most of the time he's right. He doesn't overvalue the bishop pair, but I think in today's game he kind of he underestimated how good the two Bs were. And he just figured isolated pawn, chances to try and win. And I said this during my interviews too, that if this were the Grand Swiss, some tournament where he's playing a 2650 player, I would be rah, huge fan of this decision from Fabiano to try and win the game. I mean, maybe if he was playing a player like Jan Ludwig Hammer or some weak player like that, then perhaps he would have won the game. But at the end of the day, he wasn't. So
But Hikaru, I would never allow my position to get an isolated pawn.
Okay, well, yeah, that I guess
I was saying here I like black's position. I was going at like if I could choose, I would be black. I really hate isolated pawns. And I feel like I have a healthy respect for the bishop pair, but I genuinely was not super impressed with your position here. So I'm really interested in hearing kind of what your perspective was.
But dude, you're Norwegian. I mean, there's this guy from Norway who's in many cases takes the bishop pair and like computer says he's slightly worse, and he just maneuvers, and eventually the two bishops win in the game. I mean, I don't know. I feel like you're probably familiar with that other player from Norway because he's done this a lot, where it's like he gets the bishop pair and the bishops are like very passive, and slowly but surely he improves the position.
But the way you won the game is by giving up the bishops.
Well, I mean, I kind of had to, but basically, there was this game I played against, this Turkish kid, Yagiz Khan Erdogmus. It was a little bit different. It was out of Italian, but it was on stream. And he got the isolated pawn, and they proceeded to just like sack the house on the king side. He just kicked my what. So like that was a little bit on my mind during this game because like I vaguely recalled the outline of what happened. So having that in mind, the first thing that I thought about when I allowed this to occur, where I got the isolated pawn, was, is there really risk for me? And I basically perceive that there's never really any major danger. So there's no danger, then I mean it should be acceptable.
But why is there no danger? You have an isolated pawn.
Because worst case I can always trade off a bishop. I mean, worst case. Like
so.
I mean, even here, I can take on d5 and make a draw, for example.
Sure, but
d5.
This is not the moment where you perceive the risk, right? So first,
I just never perceive the risk. I mean, because even later here, actually, when I was calculating bishop c2, I saw knight f4. Like I can also make a draw here after bishop e6, knight f4, rook e4, knight d5, rook e1. Like I can also just make a draw like this.
Did it cross your mind to make that draw?
I mean, not really. I mean, basically, I felt like there was no risk with the 2B. Sorry, I've said that word like 100 times. Everybody probably starts taking shots if that's the name of the game. But basically, I didn't really see any danger. And so when I didn't see any danger, I figured I always love an opportunity to trade off pieces later on, and why not just keep going?
Can I ask you, knight to f4, do you think I'm gonna sound dumb. Do you think he missed rook e4?
I think what happened is Fabiano, conceptually, he was thinking if he like, let's just say I go like not H, sorry, A3, for example, and he gets bishop D5, knight E4, knight E6, for example. Let's just say knight E4, knight E6. This construction, now I think black is fine. Obviously, it's very specific to the moves, but if he gets the wooden shield with a bishop on D5, then I think black is probably completely fine. So like he was conceptually, I think, thinking after knight f4 he's going to get it, but then I played rook e4, taking it away. And I mean, it's probably okay, but I think the problem for Fabiano is he thought he was already fine. And when he had to go back to d5, now you have to look for a different construction of where you put the knights and the bishop.
So you do think he missed rook e4?
I mean, I don't want to say he missed it, but I think he underestimated how strong it was. Like, I suspect he didn't want to play knight d5. I suspect he wanted to play like queen d6 or queen c7, followed by bishop d5, something like that, and he didn't like it, so he didn't go for it.
And what was your plan here if he had kept the?
I think I was just going to go queen f3, and then I think knight d5, knight h5 or something like this. It starts to get kind of scary. Like knight h5, I mean, maybe not here. Maybe I have to play bishop d2 or a3 first. But I mean, at any rate, I have the two bishops. I'm getting rook e1. I mean, it's an isolated pawn, but who cares? You have the two bishops. I mean, Alpha Zero, at the very least, has also taught us that nobody cares about anything except for the bishop pair. Like, pawns are pawns. Lose a pawn here, lose a pawn there, lose like 5 pawns, and in some cases it's still completely fine. I mean, I know that's very deep, but I mean, I feel like there are a lot of computer lines I've seen where you get the two bishops and then you just hang a pawn on the queen side, or you hang a pawn in the middle, and the computer doesn't care whatsoever because it's just pawns. Nobody needs pawns.
And then in the game, so after this whole rook e4, at some point Fabiano started spending quite a bit of time. At which point did you feel that time might become a crucial
Well,
element?
I mean, I generally felt that Fabiano thought he was completely fine. I actually think he overestimated position. I think he thought he was better, actually. I think he thought he was better, to be completely honest. And it's only when I I think knight f6, I mean, it's not a bad move. I mean, it's completely fine objectively. But as soon as I get to go bishop g5 and finish the development with queen d2 and rook e1, it starts going in the wrong direction. Because we still have so many moves to play, and we're already down in like the mid 30 minutes already. So like, you can't really get tricked. If you get tricked like he did in the game, then it all starts to fall apart. Because as soon as I played rook e3, he realized that his original idea wasn't that good, I think. Because he was playing these moves pretty quickly, and here he thought for like 20 minutes, because I think he missed h4, or he thought, I mean, I don't know what he saw, but I mean, as I said in my in the press conference for the FIDE, it was very clear that there was a tell that he was very surprised by rook e3. Very, very clear that he was just completely surprised by that move.
And when you noticed that he was surprised, did that give you, does it psychologically give you renewed confidence?
Well,
or
I mean, I mean, confidence, no confidence. I mean, I'm just trying to play good moves. That's really the only thing that's on my mind. But I would say that here it's a very bad situation to be in with no increment, because the problem, like, if Fabiano has an hour here, it's no big deal whatsoever. But when you're down to like 37 minutes, it's really a sticky spot, because if you use 20 minutes, you're in time pressure. I mean, I've already reiterated this quite a few times, but if you get to like 15 minutes with no increment, that is time pressure. That is time pressure without the increment already. So it's a very tricky spot to get here. And then you have to spend 20 minutes because you've been completely surprised. But then on top of that, all my moves are very obvious too. Like, it's very much one-way position where he plays his move and I react to whatever he does.
I think it's really interesting that you keep bringing up this reactionary kind of thing, right? That
Well, I
you're
mean,
so
let's talk about English for a second, because someone in my YouTube video said this. Like, reactionary actually, I think, means something else.
Oh,
Like reaction,
sorry.
react, or reaction. Reactionary. Someone in the YouTube comments got mad at me for that. They said it was wrong. So just to clarify, I mean, obviously nobody cares about proper English anymore with things like TikTok, but nonetheless, it's like, but yes, the fact is, when you're playing with low increment or no increment, whoever's moves are easier, generally, I think it gives you a big advantage in the game if you're going to be approaching time pressure. And I mean, when he started using the 20 minutes, I knew that I was going to get chances because I just go rookie 1 and then I look at 94, H4, whatever it is. But he has to come up with a plan. I mean, he's the one who has to find the right moves, and he's getting low on time. So it's the worst of all worlds.
When
Yeah,
was
no,
the moment?
it makes a lot of sense to me, Hikaru. It's not clear to me whether you plan for these moments to occur or whether it's just the natural flow of the position.
It's just a natural flow of the position. Like, I mean, if I had known I was going to get here, I would have played like bishop g5, bishop f6, queen e2, rook e3 in like 2 minutes. But I used like 40 minutes or something for those moves. So it's only when I got rook e3 that I realized when I started thinking for a long time that there was actually real danger in the position for black.
So he spent the 20 minutes here, right?
Yes, on knight f4.
On knight f4. So you sense at that point you knew you were gonna get chances, but when was the moment where you felt, because it all suddenly from here on out started happening so quickly. So when did for you that shift happen between I'm gonna get some chances to I'm actually better or maybe even suddenly close to winning?
I mean, as soon as I went h4, I started feeling it. Because I mean, Queen H. I mean, as I said in a few interviews, like, you know, life is always very funny, and sometimes it can be very ironic. And like I was thinking today, of course, was Garry Kasparov's birthday, and there's a famous comment I've made many times, both the real one and versions of it, which are a complete joke. But when you get a knight on f4, f5, it's worth at least a pawn. So here, if black plays queen takes h4, rook e4, and g5, black not only has an outposted knight on f4, but he's actually up a pawn here. And it's just kind of funny because this is, I think, one of the more well-known sayings of Garry. And then today you end up in a situation where not only do you get the outpost, you have an extra pawn, but because of where the queen is placed, which actually, by the way, in a lot of cases would be really good, I might add, somehow it's not good. And it's pretty funny that this happened on Garry's birthday, actually, that such a situation occurred. But yeah, I think once I went h4 and he went queen d5, I knew that I was going to get chances. It was mostly just trying to find good moves, trying to stay calm and not lose my mind. Because many a game in the candidates have been thrown away by players far better than I am when you get in such situations.
Hikaru, this is a bit off topic. You mentioned today is Garry Kasparov's birthday, but did you know it's also National Hawaiian Shirt Day?
No, I did not know that.
I can't tell whether you're joking or not, Fiona.
I'm
You
pretty
do
sure
realize I just made that up, right?
No, I
I
Googled.
definitely made that up.
No, but I Googled it. It's true.
No, it's in August.
But here it says, I found a link that said it's celebrated on April 13th of each year.
Are you kidding me?
Did you, or maybe that link?
No,
is
National
that...
Hawaiian Shirt Day is April 13th. I just Googled it too.
Wow. I swear I made that up.
And you, I didn't
No, because
really.
I only said that because the Boteses were wearing their stupid shirts today.
And that's the reason I changed into this, Hikaru. Because you won, we're now stuck with the Hawaiian shirts
Yeah,
for
exactly.
the rest of the tournament.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I did not know that. Of course, like I mean, I wasn't really like I don't really think about that much during the game. I mean, I just try to enjoy it. You know, also I would say separately, like jokes aside about everything, you know, one thing that I think is very different for me versus the other players here, aside from the obvious, you know, I don't care stuff and everything else, is that, you know, I am really trying to enjoy the moments, enjoy the experience, because you know, the reality is like it or not. I mean, when I think about, you know, my career, my future, you know, there's a very good chance this could be the second to last or the last candidates I play in. So I've really made it a point to like to try and be positive, to enjoy all these moments, because you really never know if there are going to be more moments like this. So I really have tried very hard to stay very positive, and I think that's also helped a lot overall.
Actually, speaking of staying positive, you mentioned in the interview with Mike Klein, you know, that moment against Jan, where you could have played knight df3. How much was that on your mind during yesterday's rest day, and how do you put it behind you and just get on with the tournament?
I mean, it wasn't on my mind. Like I said, this is the candidates. Everybody loses their mind at some point. It's just a question of who controls it better. I mean, or you get, you know, you just play great chess and everyone else blunders along the way. But just historically, just having followed the candidates, having played in the past, I feel like in almost every game, both players are there's gonna be a moment. It might only be one move for one side, but there are gonna be moments where you have opportunities. So it wasn't really on my mind. It was perhaps a little bit frustrating. but it just wasn't that big of a deal. I mean, I did my recap. That was pretty much the end of it. I wasn't really thinking about it today. I really was actually just trying to figure out how much risk I thought Fabiano was going to take today, and go from there, because I just wasn't really sure what he was going to do.
Speaking of, I mean, we're almost at the end of the game, but I had a question as well. Hammer and I were both perplexed that, I mean, you were repeating what you did against Prague, and Fabi started thinking quite early. Did that surprise you as well?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, well, I'm sure Fabiano will say something in his podcast after the tournament. But I wasn't sure. My impression, this might be wrong, is I think Fabiano prepared something else. And then he got talked off the ledge. Basically, he was ready to go all and go insane. And then whether it's Chirilla, whether it was Opar, and whether it was someone else, is that like they basically talked him out of it, and he went back to something that was much more calm and quiet and solid. That's my personal take. Like I said, I'm sure Fabiano after the tournament in the podcast will say something, but based on his time usage, that was my perception, because there was no reason for him to use the time that he used in the opening if he had prepared this, because obviously I'd already shown it in the tournament.
And shall
Did
we
you
jump
just say
back?
Parham is working with Fabi?
No, I said Oparin.
Oh, Paran. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. So
And
again, like that's my perception, because like I mean, I played Fabi a bazillion times in my life, and I was just kind of surprised the way that he wasn't moving quickly. It really made me think that like he had prepared something else, and then like an hour before the game he changed his mind, or like basically like he got talked off the ledge of just going all in crazy. But again, we'll have to wait and see what he says on the C-Squared podcast.
the time will tell. For now, shall we jump back again to where we left it off and just see the end of the game, which
Yeah,
came
so
very
I mean,
abruptly.
yeah, like I basically, like the problem was Fabiano was getting low, and I mean, I had easier moves. So yeah, I played h4, queen d5, rook e4. I don't even know if this is best, but good enough. I did consider knight g2, but I didn't think it worked, or I assumed it didn't work. Can't I go queen d3? Oh, he has bishop h3? Huh. Really? Really? Okay. I assume knight g2 didn't work, but whatever. I mean, impossible move to play.
Yeah, no, I think computer says it loses after queen c3.
Ah, queen c3. Okay. Well,
with the
fair
idea
enough.
that here you go with the king here, and you have just everything's attacking the king.
Yeah, but I mean, with 10 minutes, there's no way you're going to play that move, because if you're wrong, you just lose on the spot. And it's not completely clear that knight g6 is terrible either.
No.
So yeah, so he played knight g6 instead, and yeah, and then I mean it becomes one-way traffic. I play h5, rook e1, yeah, rook e1 first, of course, queen d8, and I mean already here it's very hard to play. I know h5 isn't the best move, but it's just such a logical move to play on the king side. So yeah, I go h5, and then he played what, bishop d7. I mean, this was just a panic move trying to avoid massive time pressure. I mean, I can't really fault Fabiano for playing that, but I mean, it's very tough at this point. The decisions, I mean, you're either going to make a great decision or a horrible decision. And I mean, I don't really fault Fabiano for this, because like he was already down to 10 minutes. If you use like 6 minutes, you play the wrong move, then you have to make 9 moves in 4 minutes, and like with no increment, that's just a recipe for disaster. So he tried to make the quick move, and unfortunately for Fabiano, it was just a blunder. Because after knight f5, yeah, now I'm going to sack the knight on h6, so he has to go queen f6. And then queen b4 is a really nice touch, going for classic geometry, and he blundered b5. I actually was not surprised that he blundered it, because it's already very, very hard to play here. Very, very hard to play.
Yeah, I agree. I was still surprised though, because it feels like this knight maneuver is very elementary.
Yeah, but I mean, also, as I said before, it's the candidates, it's pressure. Like, if I go back to 2016, I mean, I played Sergei Karyakin, and there was this game where it's just under pressure, and then finally I just sacked a bishop and, like, just lost in one move. So, I mean, in the candidates, I feel like you really, there are a lot of, you have to treat it a little bit differently than other tournaments in terms of, like, the blunders and, you know, the mindset and everything else. So... yeah, but it's still a win is a win, and it's good. So I guess, yeah, at least I have a decent result now.
And what a game it was. I'm reading in the chat that Nepo Abasov is getting tense. Do you want to take a quick look there?
I mean, it looked like a dead draw, and then as soon as Nepo was able to get the king over, yeah, I mean, this is This is there rookie 4 or something? Wait, GH4 rookie 4? There might be some trick with rookie 4. I mean, this is still a draw with perfect play, but yeah,
Can you
rookie
just
1. No,
take?
no. This is a draw. Takes rookie 3, H3. Yeah, it's probably a draw. You're right. This probably is a draw because there's just H2 and rook F2. Yeah,
But
it's a
here
draw.
maybe you can get the rook versus
You want to
bishop.
go F4? No, but F4. No, this might be winning for white actually. Probably not, because I assume there's some H2, King E6, King F5 type stuff, but nonetheless, I mean it's very tricky still. Yeah, this is probably winning though, this one, because or maybe not. Not sure, but who cares?
Well, I mean, it is the difference between being a half a point behind Nepomniachtchi and being a full point behind.
Yeah, I mean, I don't particularly care, honestly. I'm just trying to play good chess. I can say it till I'm blue in the face, but like my goal is to just not be the class clown. That's my goal. And as long as I'm not the class clown, then I'm gonna be happy no matter what.
I have a question about something you said to Mike Klein
Mm-hmm.
in the interview you did right after the game. You said something along the lines of now I can take more risks.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because to me that logic seems a bit weird in that to me the thing that Alireza did, Alireza got a bad start, so then he took big risks to try and get back into it, but it backfired on him. But then
Uh-huh.
you lost early as well, but you chose not to take risks, and it's kind of worked for you in terms of you just get positions that you
Well,
manage to
I
win.
mean, let's look at another famous saying. You know, there's another famous saying, not to wax philosophical, even though I do that every day nowadays, my old age. But you know, there's a famous saying. You know, Rome wasn't built in a day. And if you ruin everything in one day, you can't just repair it the next day. It takes time. So like that's the thing is that in general, the first reaction is you want to be like, I lost the game. I got to win the next one. I got to do it. But sometimes you have to. So sometimes you have to kind of just like it takes time. You just need to get yourself back into a good mindset and then take chances. And also, I'd say having played the candidates a few times and having followed it very closely for the last decade or so, people do make mistakes. Weird things happen. I mean, you would say like you look at Levon Aronian. Somehow, even when he was playing well in the candidates, the 9th round was the beginning of the end for him. Like it always spelled disaster. He found a way to lose that round seemingly every time. And so having had some bad experiences, having played this event a few times and followed it, I just feel like nobody's completely steady. I mean, obviously Nepo's a complete beast in this format, and I mean he's won it twice. He's going to be leading after today. But in general, things happen to the mind, like things that don't happen in any other tournament start happening just because of the pressure. So so yeah, that's just the reality is. I mean for me, I just try to take it one day at a time and figure it out.
So, but tomorrow you're playing Vidit, and based on the comments you then made to Mike, uh, would it be correct to guess that you're going to try to pose Vidit some early problems, especially considering in today's game, he spent so much time being surprised on move 4 and move 5 that he kind of got himself into some time pressure very early on, or like at the very least feeling like he needed to
Well,
increase his pace.
Well, I mean, to prove the point to everyone that I said before, I mean, the goal is to not be the class clown. If I were on -1 and I lose the next 4 games, I'm definitely the class clown. So that's sort of what I was saying is like now I can do it and I won't be the class clown. Versus like if I did on a -1, I lose 4 games in a row, I'm definitely the clown. So yeah, that's just the bottom line. I don't know if that
Um,
makes sense to you guys, but that's the bottom line.
yeah, I got sidetracked by a question, which I'll just read it out from Cat Daddy Mike. Do you have any worry about Prague giving Gukesh the win tomorrow?
I mean, no, I believe that the players are here to play and do the best they can. I mean, I don't really think about such things in this modern world. Honestly, I feel like, you know, when you look at chess, I mean, the nationalism really isn't a thing. If I'm being honest, I feel like everybody's in it for themselves or they're trying to play well. So I don't really care. I mean, if Gukesh wins or something, I mean, big deal. What do I care? It's, you know, not my problem.
Also, I guess Prague himself is still fighting for tournament victory, so it makes
Yeah, I mean,
even
again, like I said, like all this stuff, like it's just like I just want to play chess. I want to enjoy it. As I said, I mean, I feel like realistically, this could very easily be the last candidates I ever play. I mean, there's a very good chance of that. I mean, with all the rising junior players, you never know what's going to happen. You know, I'm hoping I can make it to another one after this, even. But the reality is, like, you never know what the future holds. So for me, yes, I'd like to do well, but I'm just trying to enjoy the ride. Trying to enjoy the ride. That's the bottom line.
another question from chat, and actually I wanted to ask you this one myself as well about this ending we're looking at. Do you think Abasov would hold rook against rook and bishop?
I mean, you know, there was a famous game in I think it was 2018 between, or was it 2016 between Fabiano and Peter, Fabiano Caruana and Peter Svidler, where I think Svidler just barely held it in time. I mean, I assume Abasov will hold it, but if there's anybody you don't want to be playing against with like seconds on the clock, it's definitely Nepo. He's the one guy where if he has the advantage and he can just move really, really quickly, it's very, very uncomfortable to deal with that. So I mean, I think he could probably draw, but this game also is going to go for a very, very long time, I think. I don't think this game is going to end anytime soon. But it is looking kind of drawish to me after King E6, I think. I mean, if this feels pretty drawish, if the king gets to F5 and bishop G5, it should be a draw.
And the white king is stuck, or no, sorry, the white rook is stuck, or do you see any way of the rook getting out of the G5?
The rook will eventually get away from there, but like I said, I mean, it's just a question of whether you know, what happens, I guess. What happens in the next like 5-10 moves. But I mean, I do think this should be a draw, but we'll have to wait and see what happens.
A question yesterday was a rest day. What did you get up to?
I didn't really do much of anything. I prepared for the game today. I tried to you know, I enjoyed having fun in the markets. And that's, yeah, I was also looking at some stuff for YouTube videos potentially down the road. And what I'm doing after this tournament. So yeah, it was pretty much everything except this event that I was really focused on. I was making my travel plans for, you know, the week after this tournament. I was looking at the markets quite a bit, and that was that. Yeah, that's pretty much what I was doing. So yeah, I mean, what else needs to be said?
Can
Any
you
market
reveal
tips?
anything? Huh?
Oh, I was gonna ask for market tips now.
No tips, but I mean, I don't think the world is ending, contrary to popular belief. So you can take that for what it is, but I don't really buy that the world is ending.
Can you reveal anything, your travel plans? Do they involve other chess events or?
Not really, but they do involve staying in Canada, so I'll probably go back to one of the places where I'm really comfortable after this event. Probably my favorite place in Canada, so I'll probably be doing that after the tournament. So I was just, you know, figuring out my plans for getting there and everything else. So I was doing, yeah.
Very good.
Mm-hmm.
I have nothing else, Hammer.
No. Congratulations.
Yeah, no worries. And I mean, also just to sum it up too, like I mean, I know, you know, I know a lot of people talk about the I don't care, the pressure stuff, but I think, you know, many people assume I make this stuff up or they don't really understand it. But I really do feel that the perfect example of why this tournament is so brutal and so hard is Ali Reza specifically. Because as I said in the FIDE interview, if you looked at his game against Gukesh yesterday or the day before, he had 3 minutes to make 9 moves. It was a sticky situation. It wasn't really clear what was going on. And if you looked at the body language, he was very, very calm, very collected, like very much in the moment. And he converted that very, very nicely. And I firmly believe that if he were on a better score and in contention to win, he would have been shaking. He would have been very, very nervous about it. But because all the pressure was off and he knew that realistically he didn't have a chance to win the tournament, he was able to sort of find his best chess. And that's something that I think it's really, people like to make the jokes about all this stuff, but it is legitimately a thing.
Do you think Nepo has that?
I mean, Nepo is just in the candidates. He's just amazing. I mean, that's all it needs to be said. He's just an amazing player in the candidates. Just an amazing player. So yeah, that's all that needs to be said.
And the pressure is what separates the candidates from a regular tournament?
I know it's what separates them, but I think that having the experience is invaluable. And I feel like for Ali Reza, I mean, this will be 2 bad candidates in a row, but I think eventually, if he keeps qualifying, he will figure out like what the right approach is.
How do you think experience weighs up against, you know, the energy and the hunger of the youngsters?
Well, the best part for the Indian juniors, I would say, is that they sort of are just playing. I think they're just playing. They're like they've never. I actually, you know what it is. I feel like for them, they didn't really, they weren't anointed as like the second coming basically of Magnus Carlsen. So for them, their rise have been pretty quick. Like you look at Arjun, you look at Prag, you look at Gukesh, like they've gone up very very quickly. And I don't think there's been time for people to start like hyping them up like they're going to be like the best thing since Magnus. And I think that's helped them a lot because like they haven't had to deal with that pressure. Whereas Ali Reza, basically from the moment he broke 2800, everyone was talking about him like he was going to be the next Magnus. Everybody was talking about it right away. So there was like a lot of time to, I think, for him to think about that. And that's I think that definitely played a huge role in his poor performances for sure. Too much pressure.
He is still only, what, 20 years old. He probably has a lot of candidates ahead of him. I saw somebody in the chat, or a couple of people were saying, we are ignoring the fact that you're mentioning you might only have one or two candidates in you, and this might be the last. So can you maybe elaborate what you meant by that?
Well, I mean, I've said before, I don't intend to really play much chess past the age of 40. I have said that, I think, on the record before. Maybe not recently, but I have said that. I mean, I'm going to be, what, 30, 37 at the end of this year. By the end of the next candidate cycle, I'll probably be like 38 or 39. So, like, I don't really see myself trying in the 40s, so it's just not going to happen. So, like, that's what I mean, is that, yes, I see myself having chances to try and to try and play well here or play well in 2 years, but that's just my personal view of the whole thing. And you know, we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'll really enjoy it and I'll keep going. But at least for right now, that's my general thought. So yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see. And also separately, I know, I mean, people, like, I saw one person mention the Dania comment. I mean, you know, I think you have to keep in mind that everybody's situation is different, and not everybody automatically knows what someone is thinking. Like, even for myself, like I could say, you know, what I thought Fabiano tried to do today, and I could be completely wrong. Like Fabiano might have had a completely different thought process towards everything that happened today. And so I think you really have to keep that in mind. So when people like Daniel make these comments, like, yeah, I mean, it's their opinion, you know, it's his opinion, man. But you know, at the end of the day, like, these people just say these things, and it doesn't mean that they completely understand. So, yeah, when Daniel says that, it's nice and fine, but obviously, just like not true.
I had one more question about the game today and the psychology of it. You got 2 huge wins against Fabi with the white pieces last year in Norway Chess at the Grand Swiss. Do you feel that was on both your minds, or not at all?
You know, again, I can't speak for Fabiano. This is where, like, I give my opinion, and I could be completely wrong. But I think Fabiano is kind of, I think he struggles to understand, you know, who I am as a player, what my motivations, what my ambitions are. In general, I could be completely wrong. Of course, it's just my opinion or my perception of it. But I think he struggles a lot with that, and so I think that he's never really sure. Like, am I trying to win? Am I trying to create content? Like, what am I exactly doing? And I feel like on some level that's gotten into his mind. I'm not really sure why it has, because of course he's, I mean, a great player. But I just feel like he's kind of gotten stuck in this weird mindset where he's just never sure what to expect. And I think also, I think Fabiano probably didn't take me at my word to some degree. I think he expected me to play something very aggressive today because, of course, the traditional mindset or the thought would be, well, Hikaru's got to go all out to win this game. If he doesn't win today, he can't win the tournament. And the only thing that matters is winning the tournament. On a certain level, that's how people are looking at it, because if you're a professional player, that is the assumption, is that, like, you're playing this tournament. The only thing that matters is winning this tournament. But again, like, for me, like, that's not my mindset. I just want to play good chess, enjoy it, not be the class clown, and go from there. And I think, like, for Fabiano, I feel like he struggles a lot with that, where he's sort of expecting me to do something. He's still thinking that I'm this pro chess player, and my approach is going to be the way that a pro player would approach it when it's not anymore. And I think that's hurt him a lot, actually. And I know it's very like, this is very deep, and it's not something that's, like, really necessarily makes a whole lot of sense. But I do think that, like, the general perception, if you're looking at this tournament as a player, is that, like, everybody's going to do everything to win the tournament. So, like, if you're thinking I'm going to do everything to win the tournament, you're expecting me to come out, play very aggressively, go for broke, all these different things. and then I'm just playing as though it doesn't really matter. Like I played something very boring, very flat. And the mindset traditionally would be, well, you got to win every game. You got to go all in. That's how you're going to win the tournament, because the only thing that matters is winning the tournament. When for me, that's simply not the reality. I just want to play well and enjoy myself. And I think he's let that get into his head a little bit too much.
Thanks for sharing. No, I genuinely think that's very, I mean, is that really when you go into a game, because today really was such a huge game, like, is it really just, okay, I just want to play good moves, I just want to play good chess?
I would say, like, though, like the also the underlying factor is that all the pressure is on Fabiano. There is zero pressure on me. I know people are going to say, oh, he's coping, whatever other stupid nonsense they want to come up with. Fact is, there's no pressure on me. Like I have my main job as a content creator. That's what I do for a living. That's what pays the bills. That's simply the reality. So for me, yes, I would like to play well, and obviously it's a chance to try and qualify for the World Championship. But it's not that big of a deal at the end of the day. Like, you know, if I don't win this, it's not going to be the biggest tragedy of my life. It's not going to be some huge missed opportunity that I'm going to go, wow, like, what was I doing? I could have qualified. Like, that's just not even in my mind. It never will be in my mind ever again, frankly. It's just never going to. So for me, that's just how I view it. And like for Fabiano, like there's got to be this massive pressure for Fabiano. He's a professional player. He has this chance to qualify for the match. That is the reality. And whether it's me, whether it's Nepo, Fabiano, like we're not getting any younger. And there are only two of the best juniors who are playing here. I mean, God forbid there like was Noterbek and Arjun on top of the monsters who are already playing this tournament. But the fact is, like, time is passing, and for all of us, we're getting older. And I think for Fabiano, after what happened in the 2022 Cannes, he has to be looking at this as his best chance to try and qualify again and to get back to that match. So, I mean, in my mind, I'm always thinking like there's the pressure has to be immense on Fabiano. This is what he's been waiting for the last 2 years to try and get back to a match. And definitely it's in my mind that like if I can make it, if he's going to be unhappy with a boring game, like that's going to affect him more than it's going to affect me.
Hikaru, we very much appreciate you giving us so much of your time after what was, I'm sure, well, an exciting but also a tiring game.
I mean, I'm enjoying the ride, you guys. Like I know everyone's gonna say copium, this, that, or the other thing. Fact is, I'm enjoying the ride. I mean, realistically, I view it as I have maybe 3 more years that I'll try to compete at the top level. I mean, maybe it'll be more than that, but like I'm just trying to enjoy the ride at this point. It's like, you know, people were asking questions about like the dress code or all these other things, like, you know, all these little issues, all these things, like leave that to the kids, leave that to the next generation. That's not for me at this point in my career. So like I'm just trying to enjoy the ride, and if it's good enough, it's good enough. If it's not, it's not. But you know, I'm trying to enjoy as much as I can, because you really never know what tomorrow holds.
And we are surely enjoying the ride with you. I think the viewers today, I mean, both of us, Hammer and myself, all of us had a fantastic time. So congrats again. Thanks for coming on. Maybe just before we let you go, your prediction for the outcome of this game?
Prediction for the outcome. I mean, I think it's going to be a draw, but they're going to play until the cows come home. So this game's probably going to go for another 40 minutes, I would guess. I mean, because Neville's going to go G3 and try to hide the king on G2, and it'll keep going. But you know, yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. But at the end of the day, like I'm just glad that I was able to win a game. And again, considering what happened in round 2, like I was definitely looking like the Krusty for much of the first couple of days of this tournament. But luckily, I'm not Krusty the Clown and all as well. So
actually, Hikaru, I just realized if you just followed the checks here, how do you actually defend your king against the rook pointing in towards the?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how to do it. Not sure how to do it, but yeah. At the end of the day, yeah, we'll see what happens. But it's good to get a win, and I'll obviously go do my recap, go eat some food, and go to bed, and keep trying to do this for the next like 6-7 days.
Hikaru, thank you very much. Have a good one, and best of luck for tomorrow.
Yeah. All right. See you guys. Have a good one.
Bye. Cheers. Bye-bye.